Clara Fields pushed open the glass doors of the Signet Boutique Hotel, a subtle cascade of rainwater trailing behind her from the city's damp streets. She wore dark jeans and a simple, slightly worn navy shirt, her auburn hair pulled back into a loose ponytail, strands damp from her bike ride earlier. Her backpack was modest, holding only essentials, and a faint sheen of perspiration still glistened on her forehead. The lobby was a striking contrast, marble floors polished to a reflective shine, golden sconces casting warm light over plush velvet chairs, and an air thick with quiet sophistication. Behind the gleaming front desk, Isabel stood erect in her crisp uniform, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair and sharp features bearing the unmistakable air of someone accustomed to authority and control. She was surrounded by other impeccably dressed staff, each exchanging glances that flicked toward Clara with a mixture of curiosity and thinly veiled judgment. Isabel's eyes narrowed slightly as Clara approached the front desk with a reserved yet steady step. "You're the new receptionist, right?" Isabel asked with a too bright smile edged with sarcasm. "We're short on hands today, so why don't you get started by restocking the brochure rack? Oh, and maybe check the lost and found while you're at it." Clara blinked briefly but said nothing to correct the mistake. Instead, she nodded once with quiet politeness. "Right away," she replied softly, an ambiguous tone in her voice that offered no invitation for debate. Isabel smirked, folding her arms as Clara turned and walked away, the whispering of other employees rising subtly behind her. The impression seemed clear: Clara Fields was just another low-level assistant, a newcomer to the polished, elite world of Signet. Clara's footsteps echoed softly against the marble floor as she walked away from the front desk, leaving a faint trail of dampness behind her. She moved with purposeful calm, the steady rhythm of her steps masking the quick calculations running behind her composed expression. She had heard Isabel's condescending tone clearly, but correcting the assumption here and now would only play into the mistaking game that had already begun. Instead, Clara chose silence and an ambiguous acquiescence that might seem like submission but was anything but. "Right away," she said simply, before turning without another word and walking toward the back stairwell, bypassing the elevator and the curious eyes that followed her. Her casual gear, the dampness in her hair, and the understated manner of her arrival had set a certain narrative, but Clara intended to rewrite it entirely. The stairwell led her to a less visible corridor on the second floor, where a discreet sign marked the Human Resources office. The door was slightly ajar, and inside, Alex Martinez was waiting. Tall, with an air of quiet authority and approachable warmth, Alex rose as Clara stepped in. He was dressed in a tailored suit that suggested seriousness but softened by a friendly smile. "Miss Fields, welcome to Signet," Alex said, extending his hand. "We've been looking forward to your arrival." Clara returned the handshake with a firm grip and a brief nod, her eyes calm but alert. "Thank you, Alex. It's good to be here." Alex gestured toward a sleek conference table. "Please, have a seat. Let me fill you in before things get hectic." As Clara settled into the chair, her backpack resting beside her, Alex gave a brief overview. Signet Boutique Hotel had been acquired through a recent buyout by a private consortium seeking to revitalize the brand. Clara was the new majority owner and managing director, charged with steering this flagship property, and eventually the chain, toward a new era of innovation and excellence. "We've prepared a statement for the staff and a schedule for the coming days, but your first priority is setting the tone," Alex said. His voice carried both respect and a hint of caution, aware of the challenges taking on entrenched teams could bring. "There will be skepticism. Some staff may not take the change well, especially those who've held sway here for a long time." Clara absorbed the information with ease but said little, her eyes flicking toward the door for a moment before returning to Alex. "I want to see the hotel through the eyes of the people on the front lines. That means I won't be hiding behind an office door." Alex nodded, understanding more than he said. We're scheduled for a team-wide announcement at 3. That's when you'll be introduced officially. Until then, you might want to get a sense of the atmosphere here. Clara smiled faintly. I've already started. Back downstairs, Isabel lingered by the front desk, a conspiratorial grin spreading across her face. She gathered the nearest colleagues, lowering her voice to a proud brag. You should have seen it. The new girl actually thought she was one of us, ready to stock brochures and chase lost umbrellas. I told her exactly where to start. Guess who's not such a hotshot after all? Laughter rippled among her small circle, some exchanging knowing glances, others suppressing polite smiles. The message was clear. Isabel had weathered this arrival with confidence and had nothing to worry about. But Clara had other plans. Instead of sinking into the role Isabel had assigned, she moved fluidly through the hotel's less glamorous spaces, the kitchens, staff lockers, and even the service elevators, observing the staff in motion, noting how attention to detail flickered inconsistently in the tiny moments that guests never saw. She spoke briefly to a housekeeper, smiled at a busy waiter, and nodded to the concierge without lowering herself to small talk. Every interaction was deliberate, each moment a measurement of the hotel's pulse. As the clock in the lobby chimed 2:50, Clara returned to the conference room where Alex awaited, laptop open and presentation queued. The room looked grand, with rows of polished chairs and a podium at the front. Staff filtered in, exchanging murmurs, wondering what was about to happen. Among them, Isabel settled into her usual spot by the aisle, still wearing the self-assured smirk from earlier. She exchanged quick glances with other supervisors, whispering updates on the new girl, secure in her belief that the status quo would remain intact. Alex stepped up to the microphone and called the room to order. Thank you all for coming. We have an important announcement to make about the leadership of Signet Boutique Hotel. His gaze shifted to the entrance as Clara stepped forward. Every eye in the room followed Clara's calm stride to the front, and Isabel's confident smirk began to falter imperceptibly. Alex's voice took on a tone of respect and formality as he spoke. It is my privilege to introduce Clara Fields as the new owner and managing director of Signet. Clara brings extensive experience in luxury hospitality, with a proven record of transformative leadership at top-tier hotel groups internationally. A ripple of surprise passed through the audience. Whispers died out quickly as the gravity of the moment settled in. Isabel blinked, swallowed hard, and blinked again, her posture stiffening as she stared at Clara, visibly struggling to reconcile her previous assumptions with the authority Clara now clearly embodied. Clara met the room's gaze steadily, neither needing to assert nor prove herself. Her presence alone conveyed a silent but powerful message. The ambiguity that had allowed Isabel to mock her just an hour before crumbled, replaced by an undeniable command. The atmosphere shifted palpably. The casual judgment from earlier was replaced by palpable tension. People sat straighter, the earlier lightness replaced by anticipation and cautious respect. As the meeting progressed, Clara would have her opportunity to explain not just who she was, but how she intended to lead, starting with clear, firm vision that expected nothing less than excellence from every corner of the operation. But in this moment, standing before her new team, and the colleagues who had misjudged her, Clara's calm resolve spoke louder than any words could. She was here not to fit in, but to lead, and nothing would distract her from that task. The soft murmur of conversations in the conference room quieted as Alex Martinez gestured toward the entrance. A sense of expectancy hung in the air. The hotel staff, gathered in neat rows of chairs, shifted their attention toward the door at the back of the room. The announcement that morning had spread quickly, though only fragments of the story had filtered down the polished corridors. Now, their eyes fixed on the confident figure entering with unwavering composure. Clara Fields stepped into the room with quiet grace, her attire unchanged, simple jeans, a neat navy shirt, and a lightweight blazer over it. She moved deliberately, her posture erect but approachable, projecting calm authority without the embellishments that usually came with high-ranking executives. The faint scent of rain lingered behind her like a soft echo of her morning journey. Alex took a step forward from behind the sleek podium, his voice steady and clear. "Everyone, I want to formally introduce Clara Fields as the new owner and managing director of Signet Boutique Hotel. Clara brings with her decades of leadership experience in the global hospitality industry, and she will be guiding us through the exciting chapter ahead." The room responded with a wave of quiet ripples, some whispers, others exchanged glances, trying to process the swift conclusion to the morning's stirring events. Isabel, seated near the front, maintained a rigid posture, but her pale face betrayed the shock creeping beneath her carefully constructed composure. Clara's steady gaze swept the room, settling for a brief moment on phrases etched in the faces of the employees she would now lead. For some, disbelief. For others, curiosity. For a few, cautious optimism. Isabel's mind struggled to realign her perception. The woman she had sneered at less than an hour ago was no mere receptionist, no misplaced rookie fumbling behind the counter. This was the woman whose approval would now chart the course of all their days. The arrogance that had buoyed Isabel only moments before drained away, replaced by a knot of discomfort tightening in her chest. A hand rose tentatively from the back, a young concierge named Ethan. "Miss Fields," he began cautiously, "what should we expect moving forward? Will there be significant changes to the daily operations?" Clara inclined her head slightly, a warm but firm smile forming on her lips. "Ethan, it's a fair question. My vision is to build a hotel where every guest and every team member feels valued and empowered. That means enhancing the quality of our service, investing in employee development, and fostering an environment where excellence is the standard, not the exception." She paused, letting her words settle. "I'll be working closely with all departments, not from an office tucked away, but alongside you, observing, listening, and making informed decisions. Change can be challenging, but it's also an opportunity to grow." Murmurs of approval fluttered through the crowd. Clara's transparent approach conveyed sincerity beyond mere announcements. It hinted at genuine leadership. Isabel's lips tightened, a flash of resistance sparking in her eyes. Yet, the room's energy had shifted irreversibly. The previous skepticism seemed overshadowed by a cautious respect that Clara commanded simply by being who she was. Alex stepped back toward the podium, closing the formal introduction. "We'll follow up with departmental meetings to ensure everyone understands their role in this transition. For now, please join me in welcoming Clara Fields." A polite round of applause rose, more measured than enthusiastic but building steadily as staff members exchanged glances, reconsidering their early assumptions. As the meeting dispersed, Clara remained at the front, greeting a few colleagues who approached with tentative smiles and extending firm handshakes. She listened intently as they shared impressions and concerns, her demeanor unwavering. Isabel hung back, torn between lingering defiance and growing uncertainty. When the room had emptied, Alex left, leaving Clara and Isabel alone in the vast space. Isabel's voice was low but edged with an attempt at confrontation. "I didn't realize you'd be the boss," she said, forcing a tight smile. "You could have said something earlier. I wouldn't have been so quick to assign you the smaller tasks." Clara looked at Isabel, her expression unreadable but calm. "I'm well aware of how things looked from your perspective." She paused. "Sometimes, the first impression is less about who I am and more about how others see me." Isabel swallowed, a flicker of awkwardness washing over her. "So, the bike ride this morning?" she asked tentatively. "Yes. I wanted to see the hotel unfiltered, to observe the team without pretense," Clara said softly. "Appearances can be deceiving, Isabel. The older woman met Clara's steady gaze, the room thick with unspoken acknowledgement. Isabel nodded slowly, the weight of her earlier assumptions settling heavily. Clara broke the silence with a composed smile. I expect dedication from everyone here, but I also believe in giving people the chance to prove themselves beyond first impressions. Isabel exhaled quietly, the fight draining from her posture. Understood. As Clara gathered her things, she spoke with quiet finality. Let's focus on moving forward, together. This marked a turning point. The power dynamics had shifted, and while not everyone was immediately convinced, the foundation was set. Clara was no longer the new receptionist sneered at by the front desk. She was the leader the hotel needed, a presence both formidable and approachable. Outside the conference room, the buzz had already started again, but this time with a new tone. Conversations hinted at cautious curiosity and tentative acceptance. Stories of Clara's arrival would not be whispered with disdain but told with respect and intrigue. Clara stepped into the hotel's wide corridor, the hum of activity surrounding her with renewed energy. The journey ahead was clear, and she embraced it with an unshakable confidence, ready to prove her worth not through appearances, but through action. After the meeting concluded, the room still buzzed with quiet conversations, but the atmosphere had shifted palpably. The light-heartedness and snickering that had characterized the morning were replaced by a respectful attentiveness. Clara remained composed, her calm command filling the space without effort. She stood near the edge of the room, her simple yet purposeful posture reflecting the leadership she intended to embody. The hotel manager, Jonathan Wells, a man known for his meticulous attention to service quality, stepped forward. His voice carried curiosity mixed with deference as he addressed the room and, more importantly, Clara. I'd like to share more about Clara's background, which you might not be fully aware of yet. The room fell silent again, every eye turning toward Jonathan as he continued. Clara Fields is no stranger to the hospitality industry's toughest challenges. Over the past 15 years, she has built and led boutique hotel groups in Europe, transforming properties known for their charm into destinations celebrated for guest experience and operational excellence. Jonathan's words painted a vivid picture. She founded the Eleve collection, which grew from a single property in Paris to a respected brand across 3 countries. Under her leadership, Eleve won several international awards, including Best Boutique Hotel Chain, for 3 consecutive years. Far from being impressed by just titles or numbers, Clara's peers began to grasp the scope behind the quiet woman before them. The room's energy shifted further, with murmurs of acknowledgement rippling through different corners. Clara offered a subtle nod but chose to speak herself, stepping into the center of the conference area with measured confidence. Thank you, Jonathan, for that generous introduction. Her voice was gentle but firm, each word deliberate. I'm aware of how easily appearances can mislead. Today, I arrived dressed simply, cycling here from a charity ride. I wanted to come as I am, to see the hotel's true environment, and to connect authentically with the team. She let a small smile touch her lips. I didn't expect to be mistaken for staff, much less relegated to menial tasks. Her gaze swept across the room, briefly landing on Isabel before focusing on those she now led. But here's the thing, leadership is not about how you dress or how polished your entrance is. It's about valuing people, listening, and earning trust through action, not posturing. The room was quiet, the weight of her message settling fully. For many, this was a revelation, a leader who neither demanded deference nor projected an unapproachable image. Clara's humility was not weakness, it was strength. She continued, speaking candidly yet clearly. I've learned that authentic connection is the foundation of any successful team. My goal is for all of us to elevate Signet into a hotel where every person, guest or employee, feels seen and valued. As she spoke of values, her tone reflected real passion, a sense of purpose that went far beyond titles or hierarchy. This was someone who had worked alongside teams in kitchens, front desks, and management rooms, understanding each challenge and opportunity intimately. A hand rose from the back. It was Freddie, a senior concierge known for his straightforward honesty. "Miss Fields, what does that mean for those of us who've been here for years? How will you balance fresh leadership with respect for everyone's experience?" Clara met Freddie's eyes with sincerity. "Experience is invaluable, Freddie. I'm here to build on it, not rewrite it entirely. There will be change, yes, but always with respect for the knowledge and hard work that has kept this place running. Together, we will create something better, blending the strengths of the past with innovations for the future." Freddie nodded slowly, a moment of acceptance settling on his face. Around the room, other staff exchanged glances, some hesitant, others hopeful. Jonathan added, "Clara has asked me to emphasize that her arrival is about collaboration, not disruption." The conversation felt genuine, far removed from boardroom announcements that often seemed scripted or hollow. Clara glanced at the clock. "I realize my attire may raise questions." She smiled briefly, approachable yet candid. "It was important for me to arrive straight from the charity bike ride this morning. I wanted to experience the hotel not as an outsider in a tailored suit, but as someone engaging with the reality here." She paused. "I also wanted to see how the team interacts when they believe the leader is just one of them, unrecognized. It tells you a lot about culture." Her eyes sparkled with a hint of humor. A gentle laugh rippled through the room. The tension that had been there earlier softened. "Going forward," Clara concluded, "I expect everyone to contribute their best, not because I demand it as an owner, but because I believe in each person's potential to help us thrive." Her voice grew firm and clear. "There will be meetings, trainings, and evaluations. I will be walking the floors, meeting guests and staff regularly. Leadership means accountability, but also support." She surveyed the room, her gaze steady. "I don't expect perfection immediately. Growth takes time. But I do expect honesty, respect, and a willingness to evolve." A hand clap broke the brief silence, tentative at first, then growing as others joined in. The room responded with increasing warmth, standing for a moment to acknowledge the new chapter taking shape. Isabel sat quietly, absorbing everything, the words piercing the facade she'd relied on. Seeing Clara's authenticity and authority, she felt the uneven ground beneath her feet. Here was a leader who commanded respect not through bluster, but through integrity and clear vision. Later, as the staff dispersed for departmental meetings, conversations were more animated and more hopeful. Teams discussed possibilities rather than pitfalls. Whispers turned into plans. Clara stepped away from the conference room toward the offices, a subtle but undeniable shift in her posture. The simple jeans and blazer no longer seemed out of place. Instead, they lent her a fresh, approachable strength. She paused before the elevators, noting Isabel standing by the reception desk once more, her expression unreadable now, void of former arrogance. Clara nodded respectfully, a silent invitation to change. As the elevator doors closed, Clara thought of the journey ahead. It would not be without challenges, but with a clear purpose and the commitment she saw beginning to stir, the path was promising. The hotel, elegant and storied as it was ready for transformation led by someone who understood that true leadership, beyond appearances and assumptions, comes from respect, humility, and an unshakable resolve to uplift others alongside you. The following morning carried a new energy through the marbled halls of Signet Boutique Hotel. Staff arrived, some with cautious smiles, others more tentative, but almost universally transformed by the events of the day before. The shift of power was no longer whispered behind closed doors or exchanged in quick smirks. It was out in the open, recognized, and slowly accepted. Isabel arrived at her usual hour, crossing the lobby with the poise expected from front desk supervisors. However, the spark of smug self-assurance that had once defined her was now noticeably dimmed. She was called to the Human Resources office shortly after clocking in, a summons that sent a ripple through the front desk team, sparking speculation about repercussions. Inside the HR office, Alex Martinez awaited with a composed yet firm demeanor. "Isabel, thank you for coming in," he began, stirring papers but making steady eye contact. "We've received reports about your conduct towards Ms. Fields on her first day. Mocking a colleague, especially someone in a leadership position, undermines the professional culture we're aiming to build here." Isabel squared her shoulders defensively. "I was just doing my job," she said tightly. "If anyone's making assumptions, it's because she didn't explain who she was." Alex nodded thoughtfully, but his tone held no leniency. "That may be, but professional respect cannot be conditional. It is expected regardless. Following our discussion, you will relinquish your supervisory responsibilities at the front desk and participate in mandatory customer service and leadership training sessions." Isabel's jaw tightened. "That's a demotion." "It is a reassignment meant to help you realign with the standards of this company. We expect improvement." Feeling the weight of formal reprimand, Isabel finally nodded, bitter but silent. She left the office thoughtful, the reality sinking in. Her behavior had not only been noticed but would bear consequences. Meanwhile, Clara was making her rounds. Unencumbered by ceremony, she wandered the hotel's quieter corners, engaging with staff at every turn with genuine interest. She listened without interruption, asked clear questions, and absorbed the nuances of each department's challenges and triumphs. The shift in tone among employees was palpable. Where there had once been hesitance, there was now openness and rising trust. At the kitchen, Chef Marcus nodded appreciatively when Clara asked about ingredient sourcing. In housekeeping, Maria smiled when asked about team schedules and guest feedback. The concierge team, including Ethan and Freddie, greeted Clara warmly, inviting honest dialogue. Her approachable authority and attentive manner fostered an environment where people felt seen and valued. Back at the front desk, Isabel was subdued, her usual sharp wit tempered by the fresh awareness of how circumstances had changed. When Clara appeared briefly to check in on the reception team, Isabel's gaze met hers, and Clara offered a quiet nod. It was neither a gesture of forgiveness nor scorn, simply acknowledgement, a moment to reset. Isabel felt the message clearly. She had a choice: to adapt and grow or risk being sidelined further. The day progressed, and Clara's leadership became more visible and tangible. She called a brief meeting with the management team, laying out immediate goals focused on elevating service standards, tightening communication, and reinforcing teamwork. Her style was firm but collaborative, opening space for input while steering intent unmistakably forward. There was no room for arrogance or shortcuts. Every voice counted, but accountability was paramount. As the afternoon sun filtered through the windows, Clara stepped into the lobby, where a group of employees had gathered after a shift change. The air buzzed with tentative optimism and a sense that something meaningful was underway. Isabel approached, her expression composed and quieter than before. "Miss Fields," she said, voice steady. "I want to acknowledge. I misjudged you yesterday." Clara met her eyes, returning the gaze with calm professionalism. "Isabel. Thank you for the opportunity to learn and improve," Isabel continued, a flicker of humility in her tone. "I'm committed to doing better." Clara considered her for a moment, the silent exchange speaking volumes. Then she nodded once, straightforward and balanced. "That's all I ask." The exchange was brief but significant, a subtle turning point that hinted at potential reconciliation and growth. As the evening approached, Clara took one last walk through the hotel's gleaming corridors. The polished surfaces reflected not just the light, but a new spirit beginning to take root, one defined by respect, diligence, and authentic leadership. She moved with assured steps, the quiet confidence of someone who had weathered judgment and emerged not only unscathed but strengthened. Her simple attire no longer seemed out of place but emblematic of a leader who understood the pulse of her team because she had chosen to see it firsthand. The hotel hummed gently around her, a place transformed not just by change in ownership but by a shift in culture, initiated by a woman who arrived unnoticed but quickly became the guiding force. Clara's gaze swept across the lobby, and as she passed the front desk, she offered a final glance at Isabel. No words exchanged, only a balance of mutual understanding. Then, without hesitation, Clara stepped forward, ready to guide Signet Boutique Hotel into a new chapter marked by integrity, respect, and shared purpose.